So in the last video, we discussed the movement of loneliness, okay? We discussed how thought looks at the herd, names the herd, creates this sense of conclusion. How loneliness is accompanied by other forms of thoughts like anger, anxiety, fear. So, what can we do about all this? How can we really approach this problem of loneliness? Now, I want to make it perfectly clear, which I almost made it clear in my last video about loneliness, is that loneliness is not separate from the movement of thinking. And because thinking is our everyday life, thinking is what we carry in our everyday life. Thinking is how we live our everyday life. This sense of possibility of loneliness is always there. Now, it appears that loneliness goes away for some moments of life and then comes back in some other moments of life, but essentially it's just thought taking a new form. One form of thought is happiness, one form of thought is fear, another form of thought is loneliness. It's a sense of no contact with the world, to have no relationship with the world. You feel like totally isolated. So, to get that feeling of isolation, you must first ask, who is isolated? Who is the isolated one? Who is the lonely one? The one who is lonely is feeling this sense of having no contact, the sense of like nothing else cares about you. No person cares about you. The wind doesn't care about you. The sun doesn't care about you. That you are in this state of tremendous hurt, and yet the sun rises in the same way. Yet the winds are blowing in the same way. Yet the rivers are flowing the same way. And yet the people around you who you were assuming or thinking to be close to you are also behaving the same way. And that shock creates the sense of no contact. So, if there is this sense of no contact, it must be to someone. There must be an entity which feels this. In simple terms, you can call that entity, that thing, as the I, the ego. But I also see that this word of I, this word of ego, is highly, highly misunderstood, as many other words. So we seem to understand it. We actually don't understand. Most people actually don't see the meaning of that word, I, or the ego. So that ego, that I, is claiming to be lonely, is claiming to be not in contact. Okay? Now, this is definitely not true physically. Physically, you're in contact with the whole universe all the time. You have the wind touching your skin, the sunlight, the light coming to your eyes, sound is touching your ears. So, in no sense, there has been an unfairness in the physical sense. You cannot say the universe is being unfair physically when you feel lonely. When you feel lonely and when you don't feel lonely, in both ways, your body is totally allowed to do the same things that it usually does. The central factor, the central feeling of non-contact is actually coming psychologically. So psychologically, the one who is claiming the I-ness, the ego, is also claiming that it is alone. I wouldn't use the word alone. It has some other deeper meaning. So just to not mix it, let's use the word lonely. So it claims that it exists, the ego, the I, but it's not in contact with anything. It's not related to anything. That's why it would say it's in loneliness. If it was actually related to something, it wouldn't make that claim that it feels lonely. So, yet it does make that claim. Now, even though it's a psychological entity, it does not make the claim to not be in contact with psychological aspects. It does not say I'm not in contact with fear. It does not say I'm not in contact with anger. It is in contact with both of them. Because when you're lonely, you feel angry, you feel this feeling of hurt. The claim is that I, the psychological entity, the ego, is feeling that it's not in contact with anything in the physical world around you. Now, as we just discussed, physically this claim is not true because the body is in contact with all the other sensory information which is coming. You could say you're not surrounded by a human being, maybe, okay? There could still be some birds around you. There could still be some fishes around you. So the body is not really making that claim, just to make it clear. So the psychological entity, the ego, is making a claim that the physical entities in the physical world are not in contact with it. That's basically loneliness. It is in contact with the psychological entities because they are made from the same movement of thought. Now, the only way psychology can be connected or can even come in contact with the physical world is via the senses. And the senses are working. A lonely person doesn't have to say that his or her senses are not working. The senses are working. So the lonely person is still able to hear Mozart, make a contact with Mozart, still able to hear some beautiful sound of a nightingale, still able to touch a tree, still able to smell a flower. So all these contacts are still happening via senses, which is the only way the ego can make contact. Now, even though these contacts are happening, the ego still claims it is lonely. So the claim is made on the basis that the ego wishes to be in contact with the physical world. It doesn't say, I'm lonely because I have nothing in my psychology. It doesn't say that. Psychology is full of other stuff, which the ego is in contact with. The ego specifically says, I'm lonely because I don't have that person in my life or whatever. So the thing here is that the claim of loneliness is made about something in the physical world that the ego wants to come in contact with. The only way it can come in contact with the physical world is via senses. Senses are still working. So the ego is still in contact with a lot of things in the physical world. Yet the claim of loneliness remains. Right? Because the ego wants to specifically be in contact with someone or something. Because I'm not related to that person right now, I feel lonely. Right? I might be related to the wind, the trees, the birds, the flowing river and everything. Right? But the ego devalues it, all that contact. It says, I'm only not lonely when I'm in contact with some specific things or persons. So this is why the weirdness of this whole movement creates so much problem. First of all, a psychological entity wanting to come in contact with a physical entity, physical world, right? Now these are qualitatively different, right? A psychological entity is the result of a psychological movement in the mind, in the brain cells, in the neurons, the firing of the neurons. So the firing of the neurons create a mental process, right? Now that mental process, which is the ego, the I, is saying that I want to be in contact with some specific person, some specific thing. And only when that contact is there, I would say I'm not lonely. If it doesn't matter, even at the same time, I'm in contact with so many other things in the physical universe. But that entity devalues that contact. It says it doesn't matter to me, right? So exposing this movement of the ego, exposing this demand of the ego, if you observe this, if you can see that the moment you are lonely, the moment you're hurt, the moment tears are coming out of you, right? Your claim that you are not in contact with anything, your claim that your psychological center, the ego, is not in contact with anything, is not true. at least factually. Psychologically, you're in contact with everything else in your psychology. Physically, you're in contact with so many things as well. There is still photographs of your friends, maybe a video call of your friend is there when you're lonely and everything. So that claim is factually not true, right? We don't want to hurt someone more by saying this, but still, it's factually not true. And the ego wants to come in contact with specific conditions, right? So if the ego can remove this condition that I need to be in contact with specific conditions, then loneliness drops drastically straight away. Because then it is already in contact with so many things, the whole existence around you. If a lonely ego, lonely person in the morning takes a walk in a park, there is ample evidence that they are in contact with so many things. Few people say hi to you, this and that, the birds, this and that. So there's just so much evidence. But when the ego puts this special condition that no, I'm only feeling fine, I'm only feeling connected when specific people are connected to me, specific people are in my life, specific things are in my life. That's where this problem lasts long. When you say, oh, I feel so lonely, I have no one for me. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of them, but from a philosophical point of view, it is a bit funny. Then that very claim is basically saying that I don't have the specific people who I want in my life, and that's why I feel lonely. Otherwise, you could straight away go to a dance class, music class, chess club, badminton club, running club, and the same day meet some people and make contact with them and not feel lonely. Or if you can see the fact that it's impossible for you to not come in contact with anything. The senses are always working. You're always getting data. That data is your connection to the world. So the claim of loneliness is only ego's way to retain that specific connection that it really values. Because that specific connection gives good pleasure. And pleasure is what the ego lives for. Go for pleasure, avoid pain. Basic principle. So if we can see this movement, if we can perceive this movement, that this claim of the center inside of you, the ego, is basically not so logical, right? Then the power of loneliness starts to fall. We are not saying you would see it the first day, the second day. But if you would start to see the logic of it, you would see its effect. And the more you see it clearly, the more the loneliness falls off. Okay? Drop that condition. Don't make this kind of conditions in life at the first place. That I'm only complete because of this person, this thing, and so on. Never make these commitments and claims. Because in the movement of the universe, anything can go anywhere. And then it becomes problematic. So it's always nice to accept the fact, right? So don't say you're totally lonely or totally this. See the fact you're always in contact with some things. You just don't value those contacts. That's why. Start to value the general contact you have with the universe, right? Don't specifically value specific contacts or relations. So this is one way of looking at the problem, and I would love for you to try it. And if there are some questions, please let me know. Again, I'm saying we have now our Spotify channel also active, so you can also listen to the same what you see on YouTube on Spotify as well if you want that. So we have now TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. Just that's how things are nowadays. But yeah, please try it, please see it, and if there are some questions, just let me know. Thank you.